Hey, hey, hey.
Hi, Dr. Tiff. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday to you too. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I am doing good myself. It's been a good week. How about yours?
So far, so good. I cannot complain.
Okay. I like that. No complaint. Good. We have made it a good ways through this first semester of the school year, which is always nice. Always. Um, I was talking to you a few weeks ago about this webinar that I did for kindergartners. Well, kids who are getting ready to go to kindergarten. And I'm very passionate about early childhood education, as I've shared here before. But I thought it would be good to talk about this webinar. I think parents will get a lot out of it. So if you're watching, if you know a friend who's got a kid who's getting ready to start kindergarten, maybe already is in kindergarten, maybe you share this link with them now and have them join us, or share it afterwards, have them watch the replay, because I think there's going to be some really helpful information. Well, I know there is because every week we get really great
I was going
insight.
to say, let me go ahead and let you know if you have a kid in that age group or you work with kids in that age group who are pre-K or just about to begin kindergarten coming up for the next school year, you want this information that's in this webinar. Dr. Tiffany specializes in working with younger kids, early childhood education. And also, we all know she is a doctor because she is a doctorate, knows all the things about speech language pathology. So she is a wealth of knowledge, and this is something you do not want to sleep on. Okay. If my kids were in the right age, I'm probably going to be on the webinar anyway because I know. So Dr. Tiffany, let's jump in. So it's called Charting the Course Through Kindergarten. And
Sure.
what would you say is like the reason for you feeling like you needed to bring this knowledge together so that people can get it?
Yeah, so I feel very strongly that a lot of parents whose kids are entering kindergarten and these parents have no background in education, they don't work in the school system, never have. I think there is a big misconception about what kids should know and need to know before they get into kindergarten so that they can have a successful kindergarten year. Because when you and I went to kindergarten, it was very different. And we went to kindergarten, in the 80s, not that long ago. But when I went, kindergarten was only a half day. It was a half day of school. And we took a nap and we played, we sang a couple of songs and we went home. But it's very different now. And so to have a kid that's 4 years old, turn 5, whether they went to preschool, in-home daycare, or just stayed at home with a family member, to go from that experience of having a nap in the middle of the day, having snack time, to then being required to come to school, stay awake for a 6.5 hour day, and within the first couple of weeks, be tested on what they already know. That is a big difference from when you and I went to kindergarten. What about you? Was your kindergarten experience similar to mine, or was it different?
No, it was similar. We did go the full day of kindergarten, but we definitely had naps in the middle of the day. The majority of what I remember about kindergarten, not to say that they did not teach us, okay? I don't want anybody to get anything misconstrued, but I remember how much we played. that's, that's about it. I do know that I was very successful in kindergarten, but I do believe, looking back and being an educator looking back, that it was because my pre-kindergarten experience was so rich and so in depth. And I did that through a private childcare facility. who had a very rigorous program that set you up to be like, I was reading by the time I was 4. And I know like some people hear that about kids and they're like, oh, that kid is super smart. You guys, I am smart. Okay. However, at that time, at 4 years old, like you don't know anything about that. And so I'm thankful that I had parents who understood that education is important, and early education, the foundation, is one of the most important things. So, Tiffany, what would you say is why, or reasons why, or statistically maybe, parents should be thinking about this more intentionally?
Yeah, there's research out there that says 1 in 6 kids are not reading proficiently in 3rd grade, and those kids are not graduating from high school. So basically, proficient readers have higher graduation rates. And so that foundation of reading is happening before kindergarten and enhanced during kindergarten. The days of coming into kindergarten and learning your ABCs and learning your letter sounds, that's gone. Like the expectation is that you're coming in knowing those things. You might not know every letter sound, you might not know every digraph or blend, but you already are identifying letters. You know some letter sounds. And if I put the letters SAT in front of you, that you could at least attempt to sound out that word. And so if you, the disparity between preschool programs is so large, and that is expensive. Like you said, you went to private preschool. The cost of childcare these days has gone through the roof. And so then if you want your kid in a quality preschool program that will get them ready for kindergarten, you're going to pay good money, or you're going to be on a very long waiting list, or you need to fit into some formula that someone made up that says you qualify to get free services in this program. Do you know what I mean? Like Head Start, you have to be a certain percentage below poverty level to qualify for your child to even attend Head Start. So there are some barriers there to getting quality preschool instruction. And so you could end up in a situation where your kid does play all day. And kids should play. They should play. There's research that supports play-based learning. However, if it's not structured in a way, then you're not enriching them with the information and the knowledge that they need to start kindergarten off at a good level. Because we don't want them to come in the first day and they're already behind. Because some people might be thinking, how could they be behind? Like this is their first day of school ever. How could they be behind? They can be behind. And so I thought it was really important to put this webinar together called Charting the Course through Kindergarten. And we'll drop the link at the end of tonight's episode for you all to check that out. It is up on YouTube. And so I really wanted to highlight that. And I think that if parents, maybe your kid already started kindergarten and you're like, well, I'm kind of behind the 8 ball. Like we're already in it. We might be struggling. We might be doing pretty well. If that's your story, then another component in this webinar that I really highlight is creating that relationship with your child's teacher and understanding how to do that and how that's beneficial for yourself and for your child. So it's kind of twofold. It's sharing knowledge about what your kid needs to know for kindergarten, but also how to foster the relationships, because that's an area of passion for me, is understanding how to get parents to connect with their kid's teacher in a way that is meaningful and can have really positive impacts on their kids.
Yeah, absolutely. I know from my educator's perspective, in the middle grades and high school, we kind of envy how involved parents seem to be on the elementary level and how much that drops off drastically once they hit middle and high school. But it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, what I'm hearing you say is there needs to be even more especially like I know parents, we tend to want to go to like the school events and we want to see our kids perform the little cute songs and do their presentations, but there also has to be an intentional focus on what is the knowledge that my child has and how can I make sure that they have what they need so that they can be successful as they progress. What are some things that parents could possibly look for to let them know, like, I need to get some extra support from a child?
Yeah, so for parents, I think it's really important for, first of all, for them to understand that building those strong partnerships with their child's teacher is going to enhance their kids' academic success and help create lifelong learners. Um, Also, I think it's really important to understand that connection between home and school. And in the webinar, I help parents understand how they can extend learning at home. And then lastly, in the webinar, I talk about the academic progress and reviewing some of those key math and language arts concepts that a kid should know before they enter kindergarten that sets them at a good foundation for continuing to grow their learning throughout the school year. And with the parent involvement and parent engagement, I feel like a lot of times people think, well, that means I need to be in the school. That means I need to volunteer. I need to be on the PTA, board. I need to come to all school functions. And all those things are great, but we do live in a time where parents are busy and being at the school every day is not, even weekly, is not something that can be done. And so I like to share very actionable ways to be involved and engaged. And I feel like some of those, sometimes people hear that term partnership that I say and they might be confused. And then when I say that, instead of relationship, I say partnership because it's both people, the teacher and the parent in it together. You're both leaning on each other, you're both communicating with each other. Think about, like this podcast that we put together here, we're in a partnership. We both lean and rely on each other. We are asking each other for input, suggestions. There are some days when I show up to the planning calls and I'm like, okay, this has been a doozy of the week. I don't have much in my gas tank. And you're there as the partner to say, okay, well, I got you for this week. I can lead this and vice versa. So the partnership is something that is co-created. And so I like to think of it, the partnerships that parents can create with their teachers is like four kind of buckets, like using positivity, asking questions, being consistent, and addressing issues. So when I think about using positivity, I'm talking about engaging with teachers in positive ways. Let's set the tone because at the beginning of the school year, as a parent, I don't know you, and as a teacher, you don't know me. So with any successful partnership, you might not have that time to get to know each other on a deeper level because teachers are busy, parents are busy. But the way that we respond to teachers as parents sets a nice tone. So the pleasantries, please and thank you, it goes a long way. You write a note in your kid's book bag, please and thank you should be somewhere on that note. You send an email, good morning, I hope you had a great week or great weekend, whatever the case is when you're sending the email, including that, it goes a long way to set that positive tone to the conversation that you're trying to have via email. And then remember that teachers are humans too. They have families. The same way you're at work, stressed out because maybe your kid didn't feel good over the weekend and you're hoping that they're good to go Monday at school. Teachers have kids too that may or may not be at the same school they are. And so they might have those same stresses as well. Whatever you're going through as a parent, a teacher who also happens to be a parent is experiencing those same things. So remembering that they're humans too and engaging with them in positive ways is super important. For yourself, Val, how is your reaction to an email that just starts rattling off these things versus one that just has a simple sentence, good morning, I hope you're doing well, and then goes through the list of things? How does your reaction differ?
I mean, and we've talked about this in previous episodes. Like there's a complete difference. If you put a greeting and ask me how I'm doing, at least I know you pause to remember that I'm a human too.
Mm-hmm.
And that is it'll change my whole approach to the email. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Let's see what's in here versus if you just start rattling off stuff, I'm probably going to be honest, I'm probably going to set that to the side, or I'm just going to like glance through it real quick and be like, I'll get to that in a minute. And it's going to create an opposite sense of urgency for me when I have other things that I view negatively or can be a stressor that's automatically in my day. I'm going to choose not to deal with that one in that moment.
Yeah, and I've gotten those emails from parents before when I was working in the schools as a speech therapist, and I can I can be very professional. I am highly educated, and I also have a associate degree in petty. So my response back is, "Good morning, Mr. or Mrs. So and so. I hope you had a wonderful week. Mine was great as well." And then I start to answer their questions. So I just have to like get it in there. Oh, you missed that part of being nice. So let me remind you of what you should have started your email off with. So I think using positivity goes a long way in helping your message be receptive. When you're asking questions of teachers, avoid making assumptions. So instead of sending that email or writing that note that says, um, nobody explained to my kid what the homework was. Okay, that's an assumption because 9 times out of 10, there was an explanation that went with it. So ask the question, can you share with me what the directions were for this homework assignment? Which one sounds better? The second one, right?
Right. Exactly. And, I mean, it's almost like in this day and time, as much as we harp on social media and kids' inattentiveness and the shortness of their attention span, it's almost not even an assumption anymore. It's fact. Like 9 out of 10 times, only one kid in class really heard the directions, and it
Yeah.
probably wasn't yours. So just go in with that thought. I like that. I really do as a teacher.
Right. I think it's important to reach out and ask for clarification and ask for specific ways to help your kid at home. To talk to a teacher and say, my kid is struggling, that is so vague. Have an opportunity to sit with your kid, see what they're struggling with. While you might not be able to put it in fancy educator terms, you can say the worksheet you sent home where they had to add, my kid was having problems with that. That is specific. That helps the teacher know exactly where you're seeing some struggles versus my kid doesn't know what's going on. My kid is lost. That's vague. And so, in turn, the teacher is going to ask you for those specifics. So, if you lead with that, especially if you're using email as communication, if you lead with that specific way that your kid needs help, it's going to minimize all the back and forth in email. Because now I have come in with a very positive tone in my email. I've shared specific ways that my kid needs help, or I'm asking for clarification. I'm being very specific. As a teacher, I know your inbox gets full so quick throughout the day. And so to have to go back and forth 3 or 4 times or more in the email chain with a parent, that could be exhausting to the point where the teacher's like, you know what? Let me just not respond anymore. Let me write a note to call this parent after school, which, depending on how that school day ended, may or may not happen because there are 25 to 27 kids in this class. And while I had the best of intentions at the start of the day when I read your email, the way the day went left after lunch, your question and me getting back to you was unintentionally forgotten or shifted to another day. So if you had asked a specific question, then the teacher would have responded in a specific way to your email, therefore negating the back and forth. Um, Another thing I like for parents to remember is to be consistent. engage with your teachers on a regular basis. We said this, I think, on one of the very first episodes that we did. There's a newsletter that we shared with very specific language you can use in communicating with your child's teacher. And we've talked many times about setting alarms on your calendar in your phone to send that email and just to check in. Even if your kid is on track, they went to the best preschool, they came in already reading chapter books in kindergarten. You still need to check in because so many times, and we talked about this in a couple episodes ago, your kid could be great academically and socially and emotionally not be where they should be at that age. And so then there are things that the teacher can help you with in regards to that too, but you won't know it if you're not checking in. If you're just looking at grades, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, grades might look great. They might not be a true reflection of what is going on. So
what do they really mean? Right?
That's right.
Yeah. And don't forget that kids can regress. Mm-hmm. Like that's another reason to be consistent and stay on top of what's going on, because even if they come in reading those chapter books, it depending on what's happening in that class, if your kid is not getting the extra support they need to keep them moving forward, kids can actually regress. That's an actual thing to be worried about.
Yeah. So in that consistency and engaging with teachers on a regular basis, plan to speak with them at least once a month. At least once a month, you should be checking in. If your kid is struggling, then you should be checking in more frequently. If you're waiting on the teacher to initiate that check-in, it may or may not come. And I think that's another misconception of parents. When this is your first kid going through kindergarten, you're like, okay, well, if there's a problem, the teacher is going to let me know. To be a kindergarten teacher, it's a special gifting that those teachers have. The same that I say about you and your passion for working with middle schoolers. It's a gifting. Kindergartners come in with such variations in their school readiness that a teacher might just be waiting until parent-teacher conference to tell you, hey, so-and-so is struggling with this area. Well, now 9 weeks has gone by in the school year. If you were checking in more frequently, at least once a month, you would have known, hey, my kid is struggling. Or checking in more frequently keeps your name and your child's name at top of mind for that teacher. And so then they are more likely to see something and say, oh, okay, you know what? She has been emailing me for the past 2 months, checking in, and everything's been great. But now I'm starting to see some problems. Let me send an email. Doesn't that resonate with you as a teacher? You're like, okay, this is top of mind. This kid's parents checking in a lot.
It always does. They're the first thing I think about when I grade that paper or I look at that kid is their parent and the last communication I had with their parent. So it does put that kid on my radar to say, hey, this is a concerned parent. So let me kind of watch a little more intentionally so I can give that feedback that they're asking for.
Yep. And then the last bucket here of creating partnerships with teachers is for parents to address issues. If problems come up, you need to reach out to teachers in a timely manner. To get all the way to the end of the 9 weeks and talk about something that happened the first couple of weeks of school, that's not helpful. Because nobody can intervene on something that happened in the past. So you need to ask questions specific about a situation. If your kid comes home and talks about another kid not being nice to them, bullying them, or they feel like somebody's making fun of whatever the issue is, reach out with the positivity. Don't make assumptions, and then ask specific questions about the situation. My kid came home and said that this kid would push them on the playground at recess. Whatever the issue is, be specific and reach out in a timely manner. And if you feel like the situation rises to the level of needing to meet with the teacher, then don't be afraid to ask for that meeting. I feel like a lot of times parents sit back and wait for the direction or the initiation of the teacher, and that just might not come. Even the best teacher, it just might not come, because what is a big issue to you for your child isn't really a big issue in the grand scheme of things with all these kids in the classroom. And it's like, okay, They were pushed on the slide. We talked about it. It seemed resolved. But if your kid is still at home talking about it and it's bothering them, then that might require a meeting to discuss how your kid is still impacted by what seemed like a minimal situation at school. So the webinar really goes into some of those specific things too. So I think it would be great for parents to know those.
Yeah, those are great. I was sitting here thinking, like, when the parents come for things that have happened so long ago, and we reiterate a lot of things because it's necessary, because we don't think about it a lot. But sometimes that could be like a cultural thing or a regional thing. I've heard lots of parents say no news is good news. And so their mindset from the beginning of education is, I'm gonna send my kid, and as long as I don't hear nothing from the school, that means my kid is good. And that, I guess, one of those things we kind of have to break that cycle and that mentality that no, we're responsible for our kid. Ultimately, they're ours. So we have to do that checking in, and we have to initiate that. So parent support is vital. It's one of the lifelines. And so, like, what are some things that we can do as parents to help support our child's education?
So again, like we talked about, everybody can't come into the school and volunteer. I can't be there for half a day to sell breakfast sandwiches in the morning, and maybe I can't make the evening PTA meetings once a month. So 6 simple things you can do with your kid. The first one, read to them daily. If your kid's in kindergarten, approaching kindergarten, the books are really short, they're quick. Read to them right before bedtime. Read to them when you have some quiet time. Reading to your kids is very important. You're demonstrating not only a love and respect for reading, you're also showing them how you hold a book. What is right side up? What is turning the page from right to left as we're going through the book? You're introducing them to a lot. Literacy opens a lot of doors and turns on a lot of little light bulb moments. So don't discount reading to your child daily, no matter how short the book is. Making sure their homework is completed. That is getting them in that mindset. My parents value homework completion. And so that's sticking with them. If it's, my teacher gave me this, but my mom and dad said, don't worry about it, then they're going to develop that same, don't worry about it attitude. We are teaching our kids through modeling. So making sure homework is completed. Another one, communicating with your child's teacher, like we just talked about, setting up that schedule. The fourth one, attending parent-teacher conferences. You get a lot of valuable information, but that should not be the first time that you're talking to your child's teacher about how they're doing in school, because you're probably going to get 2 chances for those parent-teacher conferences per school year. And so that's not enough. If you're waiting on that to tell you whether something's going right or going wrong, you're going to miss a lot of information in between. The fifth one, ask your child about their day in school. It's important for your kids to feel like, when I get home, or my mom picks me up, I get off the bus, dad gets me from school, whatever the case may be, I know they're going to ask me how my day was. And I'm not just going to be able to say it was good, I don't know, because they're going to ask me specific questions. And so in the webinar, it gives some suggestions about questions that you can ask, because it helps your kids know that how they've done at school, what they've enjoyed at school is important to you. And then the last one, help your child set goals for the school year. Set some goals for yourself as the parent. Maybe they're work related, maybe they're parenting related. Set some goals for yourself. Review those, share them with your kid. Ask them to set some goals for themselves too. While they may not be able to write it out, you've modeled what goal setting looks like. And now you're asking them to set some goals for themselves as well. And that could be as simple as, I want to make a friend this school year, or I want to be a part of, I don't know, some upcoming assembly. Whatever it is, you're showing them that you can set a goal, and then you can help them figure out how to reach that goal. And then also, if they don't reach the goal, now you have the opportunity to build up that resiliency, boost up that bounce back spirit, and help them see how to maybe shift things up so they can reach that goal later, or maybe how to change their goals to something more approachable as well. So I feel like we only touched the surface on the webinar, but please check out the link. We're going to drop it in the chat again. Share it with a friend. Watch it for yourself. I think it's about 25 minutes. I really try to condense it because I know time is precious. And a lot of times as parents, we don't have hours and hours to sit and listen to content. Maybe you listen to part of it and you want to come back and listen to it, and then life happens and you forget. So I try to really condense it down to make the most of the time that you're listening and watching. So I hope that you do that, and I hope that you find some valuable information and reach out and share with us if you found it helpful.
Yes, and don't forget to share it, to like it, to subscribe to our channel. Just in case you missed this one when it aired live, you can always catch us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Search Tuesday Talks, you all. And thanks so much for listening. Catch you next time.
Bye.